YouTube, it's your boy Newzen, aka the Do-Rag Demigod, and I'm back from a very long hiatus and a somewhat long explanation. Yeah, somewhat long. Try to explain everything in one video, I would feel is almost impossible. So I don't even think I'm gonna waste the time to try to explain everything. I just explain, I guess, the big points. I think we all know that there's a whole pandemic that's been happening for the last year. And coming from where I come from with the background of my parents of military and stuff like that, it was a really stressful time to be alive, no pun intended. It was just for 6 months, I guess, you know, because I'm looking now, my last video was 6 months ago. For the last 6 months, I've lost my pet. One of my, long story short, I had a cat in college, kind of like basically like a support animal that my wife got. Ended up coming to live with me. She ended up having some complications, and after a few months of trying to figure out what was going on, we eventually had to make the decision to put her down. And that was one of the things that during the time I was playing Valorant, I was kind of like mentally dealing with for a lot of different reasons. To kind of keep it short, it was just, if you ever had a pet and you lost a pet, I think you'll understand the feeling of having to let go and detach from something that you pretty much see and interact with every day. And then shortly after that, I've been dealing with being sick off and on. Luckily non-COVID related, but definitely a lot of periods of time where I felt extremely ill, and I thought, you know, that maybe it was, you know, COVID. And there was a lot of people around me that was dropping, and it was one of those things to where mentally it was draining to try to keep up with a game that I was falling out of love with, and I'll kind of talk about that a little bit later in the video. But while dealing with just real life issues, you know, because 9 months ago is when I started my YouTube channel, and that's when I graduated. I graduated from college 9 months ago. And that's as soon as the pandemic started, and I was really trying to figure out exactly what I was going to be able to do during this pandemic time. And so, you know, starting my YouTube channel was, you know, for me, the best option. And it was something that I've always wanted to do, but I kind of led into it unprepared for what was going to come. You know, I don't think any of us could have, you know, guessed that a pandemic was going to happen at any point, but it was one of those things to where mentally the pandemic just took a lot more out of me than what anybody could have expected. So during that period of time, I kind of just tried to get my mental together, but it just seemed like something after something after something kept happening, no matter if it was a financial issue, no matter if it was a, you know, work, you know, me being a driver, it was tough to be out in the streets, you know, dealing with the pandemic and going door to door and stuff like that. So it was one of those things to where everything that the pandemic affected weighed on my mental pretty heavy. And after a while, I just kind of shut down. It was either shut down the YouTube channel or shut down myself, and I'd rather not, you know, go into like a depressive state. But I was definitely dealing with a lot of depression during that period of time. And even still now, I'm still dealing with sore throat and just certain health issues. You know, during the pandemic, being in the house, I gained a lot of weight. But, you know, there was a lot of people who reached out from the community of the demigods and kind of basically was just trying to check if I was okay. And I responded to as many as I mentally could, you know, just kind of letting people know like I'm okay, but, you know, I just need to take some type of time. And I do apologize for not at least letting the community know that I was okay. Because I know there's some people out here that probably thought I was goner, you know. COVID got to me. I wasn't posting on Instagram anymore, TikTok, YouTube, nothing. I didn't post at all. So one of the things that I wish I would have done during this time was at least do a couple update videos saying, hey, you know, I'm okay. I just gotta, you know, I'm just trying to push through this pandemic like everybody else. But kind of, you know, maybe a little bit better news. You know, during that time, I tried to, you know, get a lot of mental. I did a lot of mental work. I did a lot of progression in my life, and you know, I got hella exciting news coming within the next 2-3 months. You know, I'm moving out. Me and my wife and my brother was able to basically get a place and where we're gonna be able to set up shop for, you know, Square Out and the Demi-SQUADs, and be able to create some different content and be able to actually pursue this like as a full-time thing. Was able to figure out a lot of stuff when it came down to, you know, how I wanted to run my channel, what I wanted to do with my channel. And I think that's where, if I would have came out the gate, like, if you remember my original video, welcome to my channel, I said this channel is going to be about everything gaming, right? And I think that's where I messed up. The channel should have been about everything Newzen. It should have just been about me. It shouldn't have been about, you know, just a wide array of different stuff. And I got locked into, you know, playing one game and one game only. And that was obviously, you guys know, that was Valorant. You know, I tried to put some other content on the channel, but because it didn't do well, I was kind of controlled by the algorithm to play a game that I just didn't like the community. That's one of the things that in game, I met one of the coolest people. I will admit that. I did meet Tom. Tom is probably one of the coolest people I've met in years. And it came from Valorant, so that part I am thankful for. But outside of that, man, just not a fan, dude. And this is no knock to Valorant at all. This is no knock to the game itself, because the game itself I still watch. I still keep up with all the tournaments. I'm still watching qualifiers, challenger series, everything that was there. Like, I still enjoy the game, but the community that's being based around it is very toxic. And during the pandemic and trying to run a YouTube channel, dealing with the passing of Ingrid, financial issues, trying to figure out how to move out, trying to move forward in life, that game wasn't mentally beneficial. To play 4 or 5 hours of just pure toxicity, not coming from the other team. It's different when you're talking shit and you're talking shit across, you know, fuck your side, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. No, it's on your same team. It's your teammates that you have to deal with being toxic. Every single game. After a while, you're just like, you know what? I'll go play something else. I'll go play something else. And then trying to figure out how to incorporate games that I play, like Diablo or Valheim, Apex, anything, trying to figure out how to incorporate that into the channel when normally I'm just only talking about Valorant. Couldn't figure it out. Couldn't figure out for the life of me. And so that made me walk away from my channel upset, extremely upset. And I had to accept that I'm in control of my channel. I'm in control of what I do. I'm in control of, you know, the direction that Newzen goes, you know? And I have to accept that if the people who truly support me will like whatever content I put out, or will be critical of whatever content I put out and let me know, hey, this is how you can make this section better. But I don't think I can sit here and no longer just be unhappy doing something. I want to be able to make content I'm happy with. I want to be able to display the person that I really am. And I'm not saying like my genuine niceness or anything like that was fake, because that's just who I am. But being so hyper focused on what the algorithm wants me to do, I can't do that for a long period of time. I have to just create and be happy with what I create. I've had a lot of ideas that I wanted to put on the channel, and I'm like, oh no, I can't do that because it's not gaming. And it's just like, I have to make Newzen what I want to make it, and I'll live and die by my own sword. That's one of the things that I've always said. I'll live and die by it. If I shoot myself in the foot, I shot myself in the foot, and I'll bleed out by myself. But until I see that my ideas won't work, until I see that my ideas are bad ideas. I have to steamroll forward. And I'm happy to be back, and I'm happy to have anybody with me who's been here from the jump. But if you're specifically, I'm not saying I won't play Valorant, but if you're specifically here for Valorant content, I will say this won't be the channel for you. Valorant will always still be a part of my channel because that's what I started with, and I do love that game. But it won't be as consistent and as constant as you guys think. If you're here for giveaways, it won't be as consistent and as constant as you guys think. If you're not here just for Newzen, and if you're here for Newzen, I appreciate you. Next video will be happier. Next video will be more lighthearted. I'll probably chop this down into sections to make sure that this doesn't run 16 minutes, you know. But everybody who reached out, I appreciate you. Everybody who's wondering where I was and commented, I appreciate you. And from here on out, because I'm doing what I want to do and what I love to do, we'll be a lot more consistent. I'm not setting no schedules. I'm not setting anything like that. When I do start streaming, I will set a schedule, but videos and stuff like that will come on a weekly basis as normal. And thanks for being a part of the ride.